Welcome, and thank you for listening to our presentation on IT system implementation, presented to you by Benjamin Sword, James Sherrill, Terry Theodore, and Tori Shank. This presentation will cover some key points and understanding about the IT implementation process. Points such as assumptions that are made about the implementation of an IT system, some constraints and methodologies such as waterfall and agile, and finally, we will review our findings, which will include some shortcomings and improvements that can be applied to an IT system implementation. There are two major assumptions that were made during this research, one of which is that customers would have been satisfied with simply implementing new software tools as early and frequently as possible. Although the implementation of an IT system is not a completely new concept, strategies for implementation are still being explored for further improvements. There's a reason why most IT projects fail, and because of this, project managers are still plagued with issues in successfully implementing an IT system that works. As with all problems, one must first admit that there is an actual problem. With this in mind, it is important that project managers implement estimation tools that perform status reviews and avoid cognitive biases. This will help mitigate overruns of cost and lost time to the customer. Since cost and time are our biggest culprits in the implementation of an IT system, it is first important to understand what are the reasons behind these problems. The list includes unrealistic goals set by either the customer or the project manager running the scope of work, not involving the developers or personnel responsible for doing the work in the estimation process, when requirements change, not actually updating the cost associated with said change, not running a cost-benefit analysis to help qualify if the project is feasible, and finally, no formal procedure for monitoring the project's progress. This will give the end user or customer a realistic time frame in order to implement an appropriate IT system needed. Knowing all the obstacles involved in the implementation of an IT system, it is now important to understand what method will be used in order to start the project. There are several methodologies that can be used. Amongst them are the waterfall and agile method for sorting the workflow, analogous method, which uses past projects to estimate the costs of a present project, the parametric method, which basically estimates costs and then scales the relationship between the project's variable, the 3 points technique, which uses an optimistic and pessimistic view to determine the ideal estimated value of a project, and there's the bottom-up technique, which basically estimates the work involved at the lowest level of detail to come up with a total cost and time to complete the work. In this presentation, we will be focusing on the two workflow methods, which are waterfall and agile. In the waterfall method, work is performed in a sequential manner, similarly to a Gantt chart. Every phase of the project depends on the deliverables of the phase prior to it. Although this method remains to be the most commonly used way to perform a project, the waterfall method has its deficiencies. Often, projects that use the waterfall method result in an over-budgeted project that surpasses its time constraints. This is due to its sequential order that tends to make every phase of work independent without concern for the entire scope of work. In the Agile method, the focus is on speed and continuous improvement of tasks or deliverables. The Agile method uses an iterative and incremental technique. This method allows development and testing to be completed while the programming process is being done. Because processes flow concurrently, the Agile method results with a project having a speedy delivery while maintaining the budget. Although the Agile method seems to be quite efficient, it is a method only used 30% of the time in IT implementation. It is safe to say that the waterfall method is frequently used why the Agile method is the recommended method to be used. Estimating tools and practices are still the number one root cause of why IT implementation projects fail. But it's not only the methodology that causes a project to fail. Project management techniques such as monitoring and controlling along with stakeholder management must also be implemented in order to achieve a successful IT implementation. Until then, other opportunities remain to further improve estimating practices. This study was focused on two methods of implementation, the waterfall and agile techniques. Perhaps more study of the other techniques may prove benefits depending on the type of IT implementation needed for a specific user. It would come with no surprise that implementing an IT system for a manufacturing plant would differ from implementing a system, for example, the service industry. In this case, the study of the Agile method proved to be beneficial, but not all projects are created equal or managed the same way. This presentation focused on two popular methods of IT implementation. While the other methods are used only 20% of the time, the lack of supporting data with other methodology leaves one wondering how well will they perform against the conventional. After all, one of the most commonly known reasons that IT projects fail is because of poorly estimated budgeting and time. The waterfall method often results in a project going beyond its budgeted time and cost, resulting to a poorly managed project. This seems to imply that the Agile method is the preferred method, but the data alone does not emphatically suggest that the Agile method is superior to the waterfall method. IT implementation has become more popular with companies modern and old. Although IT implementation is being used in many industries, the world is very much stuck in its old ways, with very little innovation in the way that projects are being managed. Newer techniques, such as agile methods, are growing in popularity with proven positive results. Poor estimating and planning tools remain the root cause for most failed IT projects. Although newer methods are being explored, there still remain more opportunities to further improve project estimating. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.